No more.
All right, good people. We are convening this PGUSD board trustee meeting. It's January 25 and 5:31. Before we go on, as we begin this meeting, it's important to pay respect and to acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Ohlone, Costanoan, and Esalen people, and additionally pay respect to elders both past and present. Can we get a roll call, please?
Absolutely. President Brian Swanson.
Here.
Clerk Dr. Elliot Hazen.
Here.
Trustee Jennifer McNary.
Here.
Trustee Laura Upmar.
Here.
Trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Here.
Fabulous. We've got everybody. It's nice for all of us to be together again. Let's take a look at the adoption of the agenda. Board, are there any issues, concerns, things that you might want to move around? Not seeing anything from anybody. Let's go to public comment on that. All due respect to staff in the room.
Some changes that I just
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
draw attention
So,
to.
Dr. Adamson, you have some changes?
I do, yes, just a few to call attention to. So the first one being that we will begin open session at 6:30 as indicated on the agenda, and that we will have that live streamed, our open session from 6:30 to 7:30 will be as intended. Let's see, on page 2, the word leave was added to 3A under the closed session for our discussion shortly. On page 5, items B and C were switched in section 8 to reflect future agenda items. That really was just the intended order of it, so that way we end with our NCBI training. On page 11, we added a note to section 8, item B. In the meeting notes, we really just had to identify what the contract was. And if you'll recall, that was the ABM contract that we went ahead and pulled and moved to our February meeting. And then the last one, page 53, there was a missing X on the table for one of our SARC reports. And really, we just had to, there's an X now you'll see under the good rating column. And that was it as far as changes.
Thank you. And just so I think the big change here, just so I'm clear, is that under information discussion, we're flipping B and C. Is that right?
That is
Okay,
right. Yeah.
great. Board, anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, Linda, I'm sorry if you mentioned it and I missed it, but I'm excited for the NCBI training tonight, and we also have a really full agenda. So I would just like to put out there that if we're creeping past 7:30, that we stop our regular business and make the full time available for our NCBI training.
Board, any objection to that? So do we need to do anything about that, or just kind of acknowledge that that's what we're going to do?
I think just acknowledge that's what we're doing. That's definitely intention. Yes.
Okay, and I think I saw a nod from everybody. So great. All right. Lewis, anybody online for public comment? Okay, so seeing that, can we see a motion to approve the agenda with the little changes that we discussed? Also move then. Can we see a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion from me and a second from Dr. Hazen. And I do not think we need roll call on this, right? So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, anyone opposed? No, and so it passes unanimously. We will now move on after we've adopted the agenda to closed session. Just going to point out the few things that we're going to be talking about in closed session. Negotiations, collective bargaining with PGTA 2023-2024. Second item, negotiations with CSEA, again for 2023-2024. Third item, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, complaint. And number 4, superintendent goals review. Looking out now for any public comment in the room. I don't see any public, and anyone online, Lewis? We have nobody online. Anything else from the board? I don't think so. And so with that, we are going to adjourn to closed session. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to bring us all back in. It is 6:32. We just came back from closed session, and I'm ready to report out on what happened back there. Item A1, negotiations with PGTA. Wow, that's a hot mic, isn't it? It's okay. Yeah. Okay. Item A, negotiations with PGTA, information was given. Item 2, negotiations with CSEA, again, information was shared and given. Item number 3, we had 2 actually parts to that. The first part, information was given. The second part was the board did take a vote. It was unanimous. The board took action to deny a request for 4 months unpaid leave absence for an employee. And then item number 4, superintendent goals review. Again, information was given. And with that, let's move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Carolyn, would you be so kind? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, great. So, hold on. Written communications. Let me get this open. Sorry, everybody. I have to get my password. Okay, so letters to the board. Here's some things that I received. One letter relating to the city and PGUSD possible future housing sites. 3 relating to TK registration. Another relating to a student suspension. Numerous sales pitches and spam. I don't know about the other board members, but it seems to be increasing every week. One relating to AP courses and one relating to a joint subcommittee between PGUSD and the city of Pacific Grove. Board, anybody else?
I have a couple. I got one on the governor's budget workshop that was actually personalized and not spam, so I'm bringing it up. Thank you for my role as president. Email about Council on American Islamic Relations bullying report and rise in Islamophobia. 2 related to ABM, one asking about updated report details and one with higher level concerns, one about special education and one about senior mock interviews at the high school. That's all I have.
Thank you. Dr. Hazen?
Just wanted to add from our neighbors next door at Carmel,
Oh, yes.
the Carmel School Board, I should say, reached out.
Trustee Otmar?
Nothing additional, but I did receive a few emails about TK registration and some in-person concerns from parents.
Thank you. Trustee McNary?
Just a couple more to add, an invitation from Community Human Services regarding a pallet shelter open house that they held. School housing options that are being looked at, and also an email regarding the high school open house.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We'll move on now to board member comments, and we're going to just work our way down again from my right to my left. If that's okay. That would be starting with you.
You're
Yes.
far right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
No comments. Thank you.
Oh,
We have
good point, though.
so much tonight. So no comment. Thank you.
All right.
I'll just say one highlight for me, I was able to participate at Robert Down. It's Whale Month for those that are familiar, and I presented to the 2nd grade class about whales, and it's always amazing to me their enthusiasm and their interest. And whenever you ask if they have any questions, they always have a good comments to share. Quite interesting thing about the elementary, but very enjoyable. So thanks to the 2nd grade teachers for that awesome opportunity.
I wasn't going to have a comment, but then now I'm going to. Thank you for doing that. That's awesome. And I was able to go out on the 2nd grade whale watching trip. And what a blast. I didn't get seasick, so that's number one. But it was so much fun. And it was just so much fun to watch the kids' excitement and even the adults' excitement about, you know, just seeing all the whales and seeing all the sea life. It was awesome.
Oh, I think I'll save most of my comments, but just a report for the board. I went to the CHS meeting last week and something that we finalized was the CEO evaluation. So that's part of something that we do in our role as board members for that organization is evaluate their CEO as well. So kind of a big deal. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I'm gonna skip any additional stuff as we can keep moving on, and let's move on to the superintendent report, please.
I too am going to keep mine very short this evening and save a lot of it for February, but I did just want to report out on my listen and learn tours. I am currently at 94, so very close to my goal of 100. And just highlights from that, I've gotten to meet with a lot of included in, you know, my one-on-ones and student and parent advisory groups as well, hearing directly, you know, from them, some former board members as well. And, you know, just again, community members, both, you know, former parents in our district and, you know, those who have since had students graduating out and just continuing to learn so much, you know, through that. Coaches and PE teachers as well. I've had, you know, that chance to meet with several. Site visit highlights, our AVID classes at the middle school and our leadership class was a recent highlight for that. You know, just that chance to be in front of students and hear from them is a huge highlight for me. Got to see a showing of Newsies, our middle school play last week. That was amazing. And I know they had a very successful weekend showing of that as well. And then really the last one, I just want to draw attention to it. You know, transitional kindergarten, just hearing from a lot of parents and staff members, you know, regarding the process in that. And all I want to say at this time is I am listening. We as a board, I know you are listening. We are really considering and looking at what our process is currently. And, you know, just know that we are considering and looking at, you know, what that is, and more communication will be coming out at least in the coming week regarding, you know, where we move with that. I have a meeting scheduled with both of our site administrators and Assistant Sup Joshua John when he returns on Monday. And so I just really want to share that we are listening, we are hearing, and I think if there are areas and things that we need to do in response to that, we will be doing that. So that's all I want to say at this time, just to know that everyone has been heard. And that's it for me. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Next item, safety report. I know that's usually Josh Jorn, who's not here. Do we have a safety report this week? We don't really. Okay. All right. So we can move on to individuals desiring to address the board. You know, this is a bit of a special meeting, and so I'm not going to read the usual disclaimer unless somebody really needs to hear it. You know, we limit public comment to 3 minutes. 20 minutes on any particular subject item, and we will start with PGUSD staff comments on non-agenda items. If you have an agenda item, please hang on to that until we get to that particular item. So do we have any staff members with non-agenda item comments? And anybody online, Lewis? Okay, terrific. So we're going to move on to community members with non-agenda items, please. We have one online too. Okay.
Should I push it? There we go. My name's Becky Michael, and I am a vice president at Monterey Peninsula College, as well as a proud parent of 3 kids, 2 of which who are currently at PG High, one who graduated in 2022 and is currently finishing their second associate's degree at MPC before transferring on to UC Santa Cruz. So I am here this evening to invite you all to a series of community input sessions, as well as the staff and the broader community. MPC is embarking on a mission, vision, and values planning project. And so we'd like to engage the community. Similar to your superintendent president, we want to listen, we want to hear, we want your feedback and your input as we develop a new mission statement, vision statement, and core values that will be driving our planning for the next 5 to 10 years. So we're having 3 input sessions for those. Friday, February 2nd from 12 to 1:30 at MPC and on Zoom. Tuesday, February 6th from 3 to 4:30, also at MPC. Wednesday, February 7th from 5:30 to 7 at the Marina Education Center. That's our campus in Marina. And then the second topic that we're having, and I will hand out these dates and times to you in just a moment. I have postcards for you, but we're also going to be significantly expanding our campus in Marina. So we passed a $230 million bond in 2020. Incidentally, we were one of 2 community colleges in the state that were able to do that in 2020 out of 110. And so we're going to be significantly expanding that campus, and we're going to be looking at which academic programs to expand out there, but potentially move from our Monterey campus as well as what kind of services will we need to provide to the community there. So again, we'd love to get some input from the community as far as how they'd like to see us to develop that area. And so we have, again, 3 sessions. The first will be on Wednesday, February 21st from 2 to 3 at the Marina campus. The second will be Friday, February 23rd from 12 to 1:30 at the Monterey campus and on Zoom. And then the third, Tuesday, February 27th, 5:30 to 7 at the Marina Education Center. So we're obviously trying to accommodate everybody's different schedules there, and each session will be the same, so no need to come to all 3. But again, we'd love to get your input. And if I may just hand these postcards out to the board and leave some for other community members who might be interested. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I think that's great too. It's like, one of the things we've talked about here on the board is trying to just build community and connect with each other more. And I've been seeing that happen quite a bit over the last few months. So thank you for coming tonight. We have one person online too, Lewis, is that correct?
Hi, can you hear me? This is Alexis Robert.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'd like to comment on the 5th grade music program. Since September, the 5th graders at Robert Down and Forest Grove have had only a few classes with the teacher who was hired to teach them instrumental music. And we learned this week that he officially resigned. I understand that one possibility is to hire Ms. Priest from the middle school and Dr. Warren from the high school to team up and teach the rest of this year's instrument classes. But a barrier is finding the budget to pay them. I think it can be really easy to see 5th grade music as a nice to have and not a needs to have, but it is an essential part of their education. PG has one of the best public school music programs in the region at the middle school and high school level. In middle school, there's 2 orchestra classes, 2 band classes, after school jazz classes. This is unheard of in most places. And the middle school program especially relies on 6th graders having been exposed to instruments that they might play and giving them enough confidence to learn music on a daily basis in the middle school classes. And as an example, my son Eli did 5th grade music in the fall of 2021 with Dr. Warren when he was at Robert Down. And even though we were there for just a few months before moving away briefly, he thrived the next year in Mrs. Priest's class and even was able to make the Central Coast Sectional's honor orchestra in the January of 6th grade. And last weekend he performed in that honors orchestra again, and PG Middle sent one of the largest groups of any school in the region there. My 5th grader hasn't yet had the chance that Eli had, but my child Ian is super eager to learn the trombone, of all things. And if we could even get a few months of classes, Ian can join the 6th grade band class as well as all the other 5th graders who want to learn music at the 2 schools and be able to follow what is being taught. And personally, as a product of public music school classes at Colton Middle and Monterey High, I know how much learning music contributes to overall learning and provides a real complement and teaches creativity as well as working together as a group in a way that other classes don't. So I hope the district will reconsider and allocate the necessary budget to fund a spring semester of the 5th grade instrumental classes. And I just wanted to thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you for your comments. We have anybody else online, Lewis? Nobody else online and no other public comment in the room. So with that, let's move on to consent. It's a nice tight consent agenda, only 4 items. My only question on it was, I'm guessing item D is pronounced M-Earth and not mirth.
Me-earth.
Me-earth. Okay, all right. I was laboring with that, so Otherwise, I didn't have anything. Fellow board members, any issues relating to consent? Okay, can we reach out for any public comment on our 4 consent items? Anybody online, Lewis? Nobody, and seeing nobody in the room, can we get a motion to approve consent?
I'll make a motion to approve consent.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion from Dr. Hazen and a second from Trustee McNary. Can all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Great. All right, moving on now to action discussion. Director Rogeman, this is you on the school accountability report card.
Good evening, good evening, trustees. Buck Rogeman, the Director of Curriculum and Special Projects. Happy to present the pre-presentation about the school accountability report cards that you see in your packet this evening. Every year by February 1st, the district is required to have the board pass and send along to the state for posting on the state website the school accountability report cards for all of the schools that are in our district. These are great resources for our community members who want to learn a little bit more about our schools, and also for people who might be moving to our area to find out a little bit about the schools and what is going on in them. The school accountability report cards really reflect the previous year. So the focus is going to be on the 2022-2023 school year with the report cards that you're going to see before you this evening. Some of the things to highlight that are in the school accountability report card are things such as making sure that we have teachers that are properly credentialed to teach the subjects that they teach, as well as making sure that our students have textbooks in all of their classes. There's also information about the conditions of the facilities at our schools and also our state testing results, along with class sizes, the completion rates for college readiness, then also things that are also present on the state dashboard, stats on chronic absenteeism, the school climate and safety plan, and just a lot of information as you work your way through the document that is useful for the people in our community. The process for assembling the school accountability report card is really a team effort, that there is great input from several people that help make this happen. First of all, the school administrators are the ones that write the narrative portions that describe the programs at their schools and their schools themselves. Our Director of Educational Technology, Matthew Binder, did a great job of giving us the class size data from the past 3 years that you see in that packet. Also, the Director of Human Resources reviews the staffing information for each one of the sites and has the ability to clarify any questions that we have about those numbers. The Director of Maintenance and Operations, John Anderson, uses the facilities inspection tool to rate the facilities at our schools. And then also we have a contract with a company called Document Tracking, and they have a template that we use for the school accountability report cards, and the data from the state dashboard and the state data gets populated by that group. I think a couple of things to note with regard to some of the staffing information that you see first, that you'll see things that will show miss assignments, a couple at each one of the schools. One of the things to note is, well, a good example of someone who was a misassignment was myself when I was teaching. I had a credential that allowed me to teach English language arts and journalism and the media production class. What I didn't have was a credential that allowed me to teach the strength training class. However, with the strength training background that I had in college, and also the work that I did in strength training, coaching football for 14 years, that experience qualified me to teach the class, even if I didn't have a credential to teach the class. That's an example of kind of a singleton that has to get filled by one of our teachers, where they might not actually have the credential to teach the class, yet they're still qualified for that role. Also, the CDE and the CTC have different qualifications for what meets the standard for a teacher being qualified or credentialed to teach a class. The CDE coding system changes much more frequently than the CTC does. So there will be things that show up as being coding errors that aren't accurate just because the CDC didn't change their coding as well. So those get rectified as the year goes on. And then I think the other staffing issues, sometimes we will hire a person who still needs to complete the CLAD credential that qualifies them to teach English language learners in their classroom. And the district has a practice where anyone who gets hired that doesn't have the CLAD credential needs to have it within a year. So that gets rectified in the subsequent years. And what I would like to do to help explain the facilities inspection tool is bring up the Director of Maintenance and Operations, John Anderson, so he can share a little bit about what that tool looks like so that people can understand the ratings that our schools receive.
Good evening, board and members of the audience. So what I have here is actually the state of California's facility inspection tool. It's got a certain criteria of things you need to look for to make sure that your facilities, your schools, are in working order. Covers everything from a good repair standard for the buildings themselves, the grounds, evaluates that there's an evaluation detail that I fill out each year where I actually walk the buildings. Come on. And there's a really basic standard about whether they're deficient, whether they're in okay condition, or they're in extreme deficiency. So you get an X, a D, or an okay in there. So it's not overly complicated. And if I scroll down here, you'll see that this is the high school, and this is from 2 years ago when I first arrived. And it basically is based on the square footage for each building. So what I've done is I've put each and every building in and the square footage that goes with it. And then I've marked where we have deficiencies. And I went through the exercise tonight to highlight the deficiencies with a nice yellow mark so you can easily see them. And then I also put notes in, like if you see there, it says band room floor needs to be abated and replaced. And see if we go over here, you'll see that I had noted all the bad roofs we have and exterior painting, gutters, things. And also on building A in particular, we had some pretty bad deficiency with the flooring inside the admin building. It had been neglected for years. And so you'll see we have quite a few Ds on 2 years ago. And then what happens is I populate these, and at the end, it basically gives us a rating. And if you'll see, last year, the overall rating for the school was 93.35%, which gives us a good. But in 2 categories, we had a fair and a poor rating. So these, when I first came here, I talked about our issues that we had with building envelope and kind of wanting to go for like the biggest items first. And so that's what I did this past year. So why don't we look at a year later? So a year later, go to the total rankings here. What happened? Oh. Okay, so I don't know why it's not scrolling up. Anyways, you'll see that we raised from an area where we had a fair to a good and from a poor to a fair. And this brought our ranking up to a 96.38. So we're getting a lot closer to that 100%. And so what happened is I replaced those roofs. If we look on the evaluation detail, I can get my trackboard here to cooperate. Yeah. So you can see a lot of these that were deficient in prior years or previous year when I did my thing, we're all in the okay status now. And so by getting all those into the okay status, it really brought our rankings up. So as we go through and use the Measure D funds to make these corrections, we're going to get all of our buildings and areas into the complete satisfaction area. And we're going to try to get rid of every one of those Ds that we have. So that's, any questions on that or no? Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Anderson. At this time, I'll happy to entertain any questions that the board might have regarding the school accountability report cards.
I don't have any questions, just more of a comment in looking through this thing too. I don't know how many pages it is. I know it's one of these things that you have to put together every year. It is, I would say almost exhaustive even, not exhausting, but, and I made a little note here too. It's like, this goes from, class sizes to conditions of our buildings to how our students ranked in physical fitness scores. I mean, it covers so much ground. And again, this is last year, right? So I think when somebody looks at this, if they look at it and they might have a concern, it's like, these are concerns that we're already addressing.
Correct.
Correct. So.
Right. And just to be clear on the physical fitness, it is the participation rate. We no longer report out on how the students scored.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I wish they had that
I think we all
52 years ago. All right. Thank you, Director Rugerman. Anybody else?
When I'm looking at the SARC report, I'm kind of looking at it when we look like at the academic data is kind of like the what, and then when we get to the LCAP, that's when we do something with the data. So in terms of this document, my understanding is a lot of it's generated by the state. We're not really playing with the numbers or adding anything in when it comes to the academics. So I feel like when I see, the numbers of kind of where our test scores are for schools, when we notice those are things we're going to be able to address when we get to the LCAP. So we can maybe see numbers move or what we can do to address those pieces. With regard to the facilities piece, though, I'm trying to kind of understand when we see things or we talk about things, especially because we've been talking about facilities with Measure D so much, like at the high school and we talk about the electrical room and kind of, I'll say, the danger that poses, the current situation, and then it gets rated as good on this document that will also be public and go out to the public. But we're telling them that there's also kind of a very concerning situation at the high school with regard to the electric. I'm not sure how to marry those two things. I understand this is just a data point in a ranking system, but we are going to be sharing this information with our community. And so they're going to read it. And I'm kind of like wondering what we do to be able to say like, hey, this is consistent. That's my comment.
I think I have an answer for you, but I think that Director Anderson can probably give you a better one specifically with regard to the electrical rating at the high school.
Sure. I guess it's not really specific to the electrical. That's an example of it. But then I guess there are other examples like fencing. We know that's an issue right now, and fencing was marked as good. So in my mind, in some ways, like we may be meeting standard, but there's a slight benefit to not meeting standard because then it has to be addressed immediately. And so for things like that, or for things like, I spent the weekend inside the middle school auditorium and I know that I don't know much about architecture or infrastructure, but sitting in that building, I can tell, the ceilings, the floors, the backstage area that I worry about the ventilation, like these are things I know that are important, but if we have in our reports, they don't show. So where does that information show? So we can say, yes, public, we need to spend our money on these things. These are problems. These are concerns.
So the fit inspection actually is, it like has, just like I said, it has your ratings of good, deficient, or extremely deficient.
Yeah.
And so I think that if you read the way that it reads, it's like a deficiency isn't like, oh, the carpet's a little worn. It's like it needs to be replaced. And so the ratings aren't in such a way that it would, prompt us to like give everything a deficiency and like bring our schools down to a rating that would be completely unsatisfactory. What we have is we're noting conditions of whether it's usable or not. And things like the electrical room, it doesn't even exist on the sheet. It's talking about the electrical in the building itself. The electrical room's like a piece of equipment outside of the buildings, if you will. So that's more of an infrastructure issue, and that's not on the sheet there. So We do know, and we noted these things, and we've all identified them, and those are what we're spending Measure D funds on, and that's what the quarterly Measure D and facility reports will cover. The fit inspection is just about where our kids integrate with our campuses and knowing that that's a serviceable area. So it's a slightly different than an overall facilities rating. It's basically saying that we have serviceable schools ready for use. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And just moving forward, as we maybe have messaging go out or communication to the community, I think it'll be really important for us to be clear. What this means if we're putting the SARC up on the website for the community and, just consistent with what we're saying is important or needs addressing. So I understand that this is a different standard than kind of our prioritization of Measure D. I can also see where a member of the community could read this report and say, but they've been saying that XYZ is an issue and here it says it's good. So just some clarity around that when the information is distributed, I think would be valuable. Thank you, though. I do understand what you're saying and the difference. I appreciate it.
This time around is, we're going to add some information on the landing page where the SOCs are posted that really lead to, there's a great FAQ page that CDE puts out that really speaks to and gives a lot of detail on the fit inspection report that I think would be very helpful. They can call attention to that as well. So I think that will help too, just our messaging. You're absolutely right. Yep, can be helpful. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you both for answering.
Thank you for asking that. That was really clarifying. My only question you covered, and it was on the misassignments and then without credentials, staff without credentials. So thank you for that.
And just so the board knows too, in our discussions with Director Arellano, who has worked in other districts, she actually, her eyes were wide open because we had so very, very few. So just know that we do a great job of staffing our schools. And so a great compliment to her and her team for doing the job that they've done. Yeah.
So my question is less on your part of the SARC, but I noticed, it's amazing that we have 547 students and 16 AP courses offered, which if you think per capita, that's amazing. I was curious about dual enrollment. Has that ever been pushed at the state level to start reporting on that? Because it's something I know we have more effort towards.
I haven't heard anything about that coming down from the state level as far as having that included in the SARC report, although I do know that it is encouraged for districts to expand that program because it's an opportunity for students to earn that college credit that can save them money in the long run too. That's and also motivate them to go to college. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits for the dual enrollment.
Trustees, thank you for asking your questions. Pretty much all of mine have been addressed or answered at this point, so thank you. My only remaining is a thank you in advance for posting it on the website with further information. Thank you for that. And then just something that I'm hoping that the state will address in their own form is to start including TK numbers, which is just, I guess, completely non-existent to them at this point in this form. So I don't know if you ever meet with the state or have an opportunity to give feedback, but I think that'd be really valuable going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank everybody for your comments. Let's go out to the public. Louis, do we have anybody online? We have no one. Looking through the room. See nobody coming up to the mic. So with that, this is an action discussion item with Directors Rogaman that we review, which we've done and now approve. So if we could get a motion for approval, that would be swell.
I'll make a motion to approve the school accountability report cards.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Trustee McNary and a second from Trustee Otmar. All in favor, say aye.
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 Right, and any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Director Rogaman and Mr. Anderson as well. Thank you so much. Moving on now to the MCSBA 2024 Excellence in Education Award. Dr. Adamson, this is mostly yours. Mostly.
it is mostly, but it's really your decisions to make, right? So we are being asked by the Monterey County School Boards Association. They meet January 29th, and ultimately we're being asked to give 3 nominations for the 2024 MCSBA Excellence in Education Award that they can, award those recipients. They have attached a list of nominees for your consideration. And again, as I said, you are being requested to select your top 3. I know it's a hard decision because when you look through the list, I mean, pretty much the work that each of these organizations is doing is pretty incredible, or devoted to, services to students, many of them, sort of outside of their, school days. But, so really I'm not envious of you for the decision ahead of you. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it to you to just go ahead and decide and make the decision for your top 3.
All right, thank you very much. As I'm sure my fellow board members know, it's a long list, and there's nobody on this list that's not deserving of an award, recognition, accolades. I did go through it over the last few days and vacillated a little bit. I did rank a few, but I'm wondering what my fellow board members are thinking about it. And if we could just go to start with you, Trustee McNary. Did you have any thoughts?
I do have thoughts. I don't really have a strong opinion about this, so I will leave my comment.
Trustee Otmar?
I guess I'm not sure what you're asking of me. Do you
I'm
want to know
wondering
which
if you
my
have
top?
favorites, if there's anybody. I have a few that again, they're all great.
It's hard. This is actually a really kind of uncomfortable situation to be in because everybody that's here is doing such phenomenal things in our county. So, but for me, Door to Hope, Monterey County Rape Crisis Center, the Read to Me Project, Special Kids Connect. Those ones stood out to me. Those are the ones that I had marked.
What was the last one that you did?
Special Kids Connect.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Mhm.
Dr. Hazen?
I was bad and I couldn't come up with 3, but I had 5 I can share. One of overlap. CBDIO was a big one for me. Mikasa, MCRCC. I should probably read these out a bit because they're so at the Monterey County Rape Crisis Center. I mentioned Mikasa, Centro Binacional para el Desarrollo Indigena. I'm not going to pronounce that last word very well. Oaxaqueño or Oaxaqueño. There's no N-Y. And then PGMNH, the PG Museum of National History, and the Wahine Project. Those
Okay.
were my 5. So it's good we had at least one overlap.
I missed the Wahine Project, so it's on the back page.
2
That's one for
overlaps.
me too. Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Carolyn Swanson.
Thank you. I have Special Kids Connect as my top one. And just for clarity, in case anybody later thinks there's anything improper with me recommending them, I do presentations for them throughout the county, but I am not paid for those. I only volunteer for them as an organization. So me voting for them is not me trying to benefit myself financially. But I will say that having a child who qualifies for special education, this group is legit. They've helped us many, many times, and they've recently become a family empowerment center, which is a grant from the state to help families understand IEPs, and they view school districts and families as parties who can both win when it comes to special education. So they're really putting a lot of effort and value into trying to reduce the amount of attorneys needed when it comes to special education and be able to focus more on the children and what they need while preserving school district resources that also feed into the child. So this one is huge for me, and I think it might be the only one that I mention because I'm really passionate about that one being one of our top 3 if possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the Special Kids Connect was one that I had on my list. Every Kid Can Fly. I thought, actually, I never heard of that program before and what they're doing. I thought it's amazing what they're doing. But And Rape Crisis Center too, I thought was really worth it. So I don't know how we're supposed to really narrow this down though.
Could I make a quick, oh, sorry.
Yes.
Just what I was seeing is you've got three,
Right.
you know, overlaps, right? So the
Yep.
Wahine, crisis, the Rape Crisis Center, and then Special Kids Connect. I mean,
Mhm.
could be.
I would have gone with Special Kids Connect, the Epicenter, or the Read to Me project. So I think we've got a few that cross over there. Yeah, I'm comfortable with the others that have the crossover. This is like a really good, difficult decision to have to make, is like, who's serving the community in all these wonderful ways?
And in
So,
my
yeah,
opinion, there's no wrong answer. I think You
Right.
can go wrong with where you
Right.
go, and so,
yeah.
So, and we're just recommending three,
Yep.
and I don't think we have to put them in particular order anyway. So, so if I'm hearing right again, Special Kids Connect, Wahine Project, is that right?
I had the Epicenter, but I'm comfortable with the Wahine project. Like, these are okay things.
And Rape Crisis Center? All right, so,
One question just for clarification.
yes,
We don't have to nominate three, right? We could just focus on one if we wanted to. I like the idea of nominating three personally. I just wanted to be clear on that.
you like, I'm sorry, you like the idea?
I like the idea of
three?
nominating three, but I just wanted to make clear that we could nominate fewer if we wanted.
I think that's right,
Good.
but yes, I think we have three.
Agreed.
And I think we have our three, so can I see a motion for approval of the three that we've highlighted? Also move then. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No nays, passes unanimously. Thanks, everyone, for that. Now moving on to Board Recognition Month. And again, Dr. Adamson, this is
All
you.
right. Well, it's my pleasure to be able to bring forward this proclamation. I learned earlier this month that January is Board Recognition Month throughout the state of California. And so it is my pleasure to read out in honor and in celebration and in recognition and in gratitude of the work that, you know, all five of you as trustees for our district do. And so here it goes. Whereas an excellent public education system is vital to the quality of life for all California citizens and communities. And whereas our public education system has faced unprecedented circumstances these past 3 years as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas our local Board of Education continues to act to ensure children's academic, social, emotional, physical, and mental health needs are met at a time when students need consistent services most. And whereas Board of Education members continue to advocate to best serve the children in our community each and every day. And whereas local Board of Education members are committed to children and believe that all children can be successful learners and that the best education is tailored to the individual needs of the child. Whereas Board of Education members work closely with parents, educational professionals, and other community members to create the healthiest environment possible where all students can thrive. And whereas Board of Education members are responsible for building and maintaining the structure that provides a solid foundation for our school system. And whereas Board of Education members are strong advocates for public education and are responsible for communicating the needs of the school district to the public and the public's expectations to the district. And whereas the mission of the public schools to meet the diverse educational needs of all children and to empower them to become competent, productive contributors to a democratic society and an ever-changing world is more poignant than ever before. It is now therefore I, Linda Adamson, do hereby declare my appreciation on behalf of our district to the Board of Education and the proclaim the month of January 2024 as School Board Recognition Month in Pacific Grove Unified School District. I urge all community members to join me in recognizing the dedication and hard work of local school board members and in working with them to create an educational system that meets the needs of all children. So again, as I read through that, I cannot, each one of you individually, but more importantly, as a united governance team come to mind. Even in our most recent conversations, right, of the questions that you ask, you're always really ensuring your lens is towards the students that we serve and all students. So it really comes to mind to me. So again, just thank you for your incredible dedication, your commitment to the work we do. And when we break at the end of this, we have some special cupcakes that we'll be presenting as a treat for all of you. And again, just on behalf of everyone, we just want to thank you. I don't know if everyone, here present would join me in just a round of applause for our board. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adamson and everyone, for that. We do actually have to approve this,
I know
which is a
that's the
little
awkward
weird.
thing.
Are we allowed to all abstain?
Stop.
So I'll open it up to board member comments. I do want to say this, that I think that we just have a really fantastic board right now. I'm really proud to serve with the rest of you. Everybody works so hard and is super dedicated to the students and staff and to the community. And I couldn't be prouder to be sitting with the rest of you. And we've had fun too. And before I'm done, I promise we will bowl again. And so thank you again. And thank you to my fellow board members. Trustee McNary.
I don't think I have anything to add, but well said.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, I'll just ditto what you said. This is a more difficult position than I anticipated and a lot more time consuming and emotionally consuming than what I thought it would be. And I'm really glad to be sitting here. So with all of you. So that's all.
Trustee
And
Dr.
thank you.
Hayes.
Nothing more to add, but thanks to all here.
Yeah, well, it's all been said. Thank you.
Thank you. Opening it up to public comment. Louis, do we have anybody online? No one. All right. No public comment in the room. So with that, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. All right, we have a motion from Trustee McNary and my second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Or anyone dare to oppose? Passes unanimously. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, too. And so we're going to take a little break. Or are we doing that, or is that later?
We're going straight through.
Okay, all right. Okay, got it. All right. So moving on now to item D, board calendar, future meetings. Dr. Adamson,
Absolutely.
please.
Well, I think you have in front of you just what are the topics that we have and really the dates that we have for our meetings. I think the only adjustment and change will be our board governance training, which we have an agreed upon date of March 4th. So we're looking forward to that. And yeah, any comments or questions based on the agenda before you?
I have nothing. Fellow board members, anyone, changes, comments, suggestions?
I just have a compliment on the way that the calendar is being used right now. I really like it. I like that it's shifted from just like routine, like, oh, every March is XYZ to actually, board members and public, anyone who has access to this, which is anyone who has access to the internet, can see what we're kind of anticipating in real time. So thank you for that shift. I appreciate it.
Okay, terrific. Let's take a look for any public comment. No one online, and seeing no one in the room. This is again an action discussion item. Can we get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve the calendar as written.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion from trustee Dr. Hazen and a second from trustee Carolyn Swanson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, thank you, everyone, on that. Now we are moving on to information discussion. Item A, organizational review of PGUSD human resources. And I know Director Ariano is not in the audience. Will that be online?
Online. Correct.
Okay, great. If we could go there, that'd be terrific.
Good evening, trustees. Claudia Arellano, Director of Human Resources for the school district. I'll be presenting next to you an update on the school services report that was conducted back in 22-23. I just need to be able to share my screen and let's see. It doesn't seem like I have that ability. So I'm not sure if Louis is there.
Yes.
Yes, you should have the ability. Green
Okay.
icon at the bottom.
Yep, share screen.
Yep.
Okay, says one participant can share at a time, so. Is somebody else sharing the screen maybe?
No one else, no one else is sharing.
Can we pull it up on our end? No, we don't. All right. Perhaps you can just, we all have it in front of us, Director Ariana, so maybe we could just review it that way. Just in the interest.
That will be fine. So okay. So you have that in front of you. Like I was saying, back in 22-23, the district contracted the services of School Services of California to conduct an organizational review of the Human Resources Department. And a few recommendations were made. These recommendations were specific to the district's operations in the following areas: the department's organizational structure, culture and staffing, employee recruitment, selection, hiring and onboarding, and other general HR policies and procedures. The report contained about 20 items, but some of them were subdivided, creating about 30 different areas of attention. Some of them requiring a lengthy planning in order to implement, and others requiring additional funding. It is important to note also that changing an organization's culture takes time. It is human nature, after all, to resist change. Change takes time. So the updates that I will be presenting to you focus mainly on activities that impact the Human Resources Department. A priorities and implementation chart was included within the report. So I will review the recommendations which are presented in your packet and the progress that we have made. So you will not see all of them, but only the ones where we have seen some movement. We highlighted for you in yellow those that are partially implemented. Green means that they are in place, and blue, we're beginning to implement. So the first item that you see there is 1A, and it's a two-part. It's an organizational structure item, and which requires that the changing the title of the director to executive director. The purpose of this modification is to clearly identify key areas of authority and responsibility for personnel management. This calls for the personnel department head to be a member of the district's cabinet and participate early on in the decision-making process of anything affecting district operations. So we also have there that the director's job description is focused on district operations, but in practice, the position is narrowly focused on other compliance matters, which minimize the ability for the position to oversee HR operations and improve efficiencies. So according to the report, the district has experienced an influx in employee complaints, investigations, and other disputes that are of legal nature, requiring the attention of the position. So what we have done so far is continue to plan for training for administrators, for supervisors to be able to address some of those complaints early on before they turn into something bigger. So this particular update does not require funding, and the updates in title and job description will be coming forward in the next few months for your revision and approval. So that is pertaining to those two items that you see there, 1A and 1AI. Then we have item 1B. We have made some minor modifications because, as you can see, we have the department has 3 positions. We have a full-time 8-hour, 12-month specialist, HR specialist. We have one specialist, HR specialist / technician that works 10.5 months 7 hours, if I'm not wrong with that, 7.5 hours. And then we have a 4-hour HR technician. So the positions are pretty fragmented. We have made the modification so that the position that is the combined specialist and technician focuses on items such as credentialing, CBEDS information, substitute onboarding, evaluation system, fingerprinted, and volunteer clearance. When I arrived, both positions were in charge of scheduling interviews, which created some confusion. So we're trying to delegate and have one position focused on the items that I just shared with you. But also it's important to note that this position supports other departments as well. So we're not removing those responsibilities quite yet. The title cannot be changed as it does have a fiscal impact. And the reassignment of responsibilities, like I said earlier, affect other departments. So this will take a little longer to bring into fruition like it was recommended. Number 4A, it calls for a complaint log. This is already in place. I am used to having that particular item ready. Basically, we document when a complaint is received, the day that it was received, when is when is the resolution supposed to happen? What is the policy or procedure that is supposed to be governing this type of complaint? If there's an investigator that has been assigned, and just making sure that we're following tabs on every single step of the way. So this particular item, we have it. And then we have item 5, which requires and talks about updating the webpage. So in preparation to make the necessary changes, we have been adding and formulating some forms to make accessible to staff, including what services are being updated. So those particular forms, I have provided some to my staff, but also we have spelled out, I'll give you an example, FMLA, CFRA. Whenever I have my employees who inquire about the process, I'm providing them with that information, and I answer some simple FAQs that they may have. So far, the feedback that I have received from them, it's been positive. So we're hoping that we can update that webpage by the end of the school year. Again, we're just small steps, gathering and creating processes and procedures and documenting that. And eventually we'll be posting all of that once we revise and update the HR webpage. So for people to know where they can go in and find this information. Item number 20, employee recruitment and onboarding, removing barriers. A few of the changes that we made right off the gate was the delegation of reference checking to department supervisors and managers. Previously, the HR director would take on this role. So when multiple positions were being considered, it created a delay in the process. Another area that has been modified is the testing for basic skills for paraeducators and instructional assistant assignments. Any of those individuals who hold 48 college semester units, who have an AA or a bachelor's degree, are not required to be tested. It's also important to know that there's a difference between technical skills and the basic skills that are required for positions. So for instance, if we're looking at hiring a career technical position or a para position, it's going to go beyond the basic skills. Now we're looking at technical skills. So basic skills, like the term says, is testing for basic reading, writing, and basic math. So when we're considering an individual for a position such as an office administrator, a para position, higher comprehension and technical skills will be examined. Item 4B, training for supervisors to learn how to handle basic personnel matters. We recently scheduled some training, which our administrators and supervisors will be seeing in the next few weeks. Item number 7, HR professional learning and training. This year, HR support staff have participated and will be participating in a few trainings. This includes the areas of credential monitoring, credentialing assignment, best HR practices, leaves, and just general operational processes for the staff. We continue to encourage them to take advantage of those trainings as they come up throughout the year. I can tell you also that they participated in the school services HR professionals group, where questions, information, and updates are shared and exchanged.
Director Ariana,
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to just interrupt you for a second. So we
okay.
have a pretty hard, ending time here, and we're here at 7:30. And I know that this is intended to just be sort of a presentation of information. So I wonder if we could maybe just summarize, I know the board has had, all of these items, available to you, and maybe just one quick, sort of 30-second summary. And I know we'll be bringing this back as well at a future meeting. So could we close it there? I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. So yes, so baby steps along the way. I did not include all the other items as progress continues to be made. We will bring that forward to you. And I welcome any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions. An appreciation for the explanation though and all the detail. And unless I'm just looking across the dais here, does anybody else have any questions at this moment? Knowing our clock is ticking as well. So, all right. So thank you again for that. This was an information discussion item only, so we can now move on. We did flip future agenda items into the next position. Dr. Adamson, if you want to do a quick run through on that, if there's anything we need to take a look at.
Right. I don't think there's anything at this time. We've, you did a great job at really sort of removing all the items that were on the list. We have them placed in future either meetings or just future action items. So unless there's anything at this time that you want to bring forward.
Fellow board members, I'm not seeing anybody jumping for the mic button. So, okay. So thank you for that as well. And now we're moving on into our cultural proficiency training. And my understanding of this is that it is open to the public for anybody that wants to hang out and see what we're going to be doing. This is a continuance of just us trying to sharpen our skills and do something that a lot of the staff has already been participating in. But we will no longer be online. We will be closing out the online portion of that. So thank you, everybody who may have been tuning in online, and anybody that came out tonight. We do appreciate that and your support. And we will move on into our board cultural proficiency training. Okay. Do we actually gavel out for this too, though?